Alright, so we are on 3.6 subtracting mixed numbers on page 145. Subtracting mixed. Anytime you have a mixed number, that means it has a whole number along with a what? A whole number, that's this part. A whole number. And then the other part over here, if it's a mixed number, is a fraction. So like 1 1/2, 2 3/4. That's why it's considered a mixed number. Question, comment?
No.
Yes? You have it in your notebook.
No, there's no one.
Okay, then you go get one. Alright, so what we're doing today is subtracting those mixed numbers. So it's got Kim buys 2 3/4. Actually, I need someone to read this for us. Yeah. Kim buys.
Kim buys 2 3/4 yards of fabric. She cuts 1 1/8 yards to make a dress. How much fabric does she have left?
Okay, so she has 2 3/4. She cuts away. That means you're doing what?
Minus
Subtracting. So you have 2 3/4 minus what?
1 1/8.
1 1/8. So the whole numbers we can subtract right away with 2 minus 1. 1. Alright, 1. So now I have 3/4 minus 1/8. Can I subtract those the way they are?
No, you
What do I
need
have
to
to
find a
do?
common denominator.
Common denominator.
2 1/2.
What's the common denominator?
Uh,
What number do both 4 and 8 go into?
8.
What?
16,
And you see 8. What other?
16,
16.
32.
Okay. So far, 8, 16, and 32 are all correct, but only one of them is the least common denominator. What is the least common denominator?
8.
8. It's the smallest one. So what do we have to multiply this by?
the top,
What do we have to multiply 1/8 by?
Oh.
1. Or just don't multiply by anything because we're keeping it the same way it is. Remember we talked about that yesterday. It's kind of a trick question.
keep the top one.
Well, right now we're keeping both of them because 8 is the least common denominator, so we don't touch this one. This one over here, because usually we say we're going to multiply this one by a fraction and multiply this one by a fraction. If you do multiply this one by a fraction, what's the fraction going to be? Yeah? 1/1. Because you're just not changing it. Here, it would be what?
2/2.
2/2, because the whole thing is can we get that bottom to say 8? So this becomes 8 on the bottom and what on the top?
3,
6.
no, 5,
2 times 3 is
6.
5.
6. That would be adding them. Remember, make sure you're looking at, that's a common mistake what you did there, so don't feel bad. I'm actually kind of glad you made it so that we can learn from it. But remember, you're paying attention to this is multiplying right here. When we get the final numbers, then we're going to subtract. Or maybe you add if it's a different scenario. But right here, we're going to subtract. So it's 6/8 minus 1/8, which becomes equals what?
2/8.
6 minus 1.
5/8.
5.
Yep. 5/8. And what's the whole number?
2. 1.
1. We already did that part. That's all you got to do. All right. If you already did this guided practice, great. Otherwise, who did not do this guided practice yet? Okay, then you guys get to be the ones. You guys get to be the ones that help me out. So, 5 2/9 minus 2 1/3. Okay, one person help me out who didn't already do it. What's the first thing we do? Yeah?
Find a common denominator.
Before that even.
Oh.
Minus,
Yeah.
You gotta subtract the big numbers.
What are the big numbers called?
Whole numbers.
Whole numbers. Subtract the whole numbers. 5 minus 2 is
3,
3. So I'm just going to tuck that away. I'm going to circle it over there, make sure that I don't forget it, because if I just subtract the fraction parts and not the whole number parts, then that's not good. What's the next thing I do? Yep.
find a common denominator.
What's the common denominator?
They both have to be in the same thing.
I know, but what is the common denominator?
18.
So they do both go into 18, but there's a smaller one. It's actually similar to the thing we just did last time. Your brain is on though today. You're right. 18 does work. You could get 18 as the answer, but we're looking for the least common denominator. 9. by,
1.
or just nothing, just leave it the way it is. Here we multiply by,
3.
1. No.
no, so you're trying to get 9 on the bottom.
3. I'm still stuck with the curve.
I'm asking him, not you.
3.
3, because we want 9 on the bottom, you have to multiply 3 by 3 to get 9. So now we have 2 ninths minus 3 ninths.
1 9.
Uh-oh. No, this is 2 minus 3. 3
Oh.
minus 2.
You can't do 2 minus
So you
3.
can't do anything at this point. So what do we have to do
You
here?
take some from the whole number.
Yeah, you have to take something from the whole number. Now, usually if you're seeing this, and I'll teach you guys to do this in the future, but basically you don't always want to subtract these right away. So you could go back to this and say, I mean, actually you can take one away from this, which is what you would do in this situation, is saying, you could take it from the 5 and you could say, hey, I'm just going to do that 4 minus 2, and I'll keep this as a 2, and then add that extra 1 onto here. So instead of 2 ninths, you would have added 9 over 9, because this is 2 ninths, this is 1, so that would become 11 ninths. Whoops, not 12 ninths. And then, yep, and then you get that and you do 8 ninths, and remember, this was becoming 2,
2 and 8 9.
so you get 8 ninths. But, and all of you should be writing this down in your notes, you gotta remember, hey, if this does not work out, 2 minus 3, don't say it's 1 over 9, because it's not. 2 minus 3 is not 1. If I say, hey, he's got 2 pencils, and I say, hey, you owe me 3 pencils, he doesn't have 1 pencil left. He has negative 1 pencil left. He still owes me another pencil. Okay, I have pencil left over here now. So you have to go back and borrow from the whole number, and whatever the fraction is, this is over 9, so 9 over 9 is 1 then. If this was over 2, then you would add 2 over 2. If this was over 3, you would add 3 over 3, whatever the number is. Yep.
Don't we have to give something back after?
You don't have to give it back, because it's kind of like, think about it if you're doing like 114 minus 57. So when you do this, you borrow, right? So this becomes 14, this becomes 0. 14 minus 7 is 7. 0, well, you got to borrow from this. Becomes 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. So you get 57. You don't have to give stuff back. You borrow because what you have right now is not enough. So when you borrow in this situation, you don't have to give it back because what you had right there was not enough. So when you're borrowing 1 whole, or 9 ninths in this case. You don't have to give anything back. Good question. Did we add the final answer for that one?
Yeah, we had 2 and 8 runs. We had 2 and 8.
Oh, I wrote down the wrong answer here. That's why the answer is different from the book. I wrote down 5 and 2 ninths here. Your book, you guys had 5 and 5 ninths. That's why the answers look the same. If this would have been the answer, then that would have been the right answer. Your book would have a different answer, though. I guess you guys don't need to see what the book answer is, but in my head, I was like, oh, it's got the wrong answer because I used a different example from the book. All right, number 2, 3 4/5 minus 2 1/2.
Wait, that wasn't number 2?
That was number 1. All right, someone who didn't already do this. Yep.
Get rid of the 3 and the 2 and then have 1. And then you find a common denominator.
Okay, so 3 minus 2 is 1.
10.
Okay, common denominator is 10. You're right. 4/5 minus 1/2. So here I multiply by
5.
nope.
2 over
'cause I'm-
2.
5 times what?
2 over 2.
Raise your hand if you got something or I'm looking at you. And over here?
5 over 5.
Yep. 2 times 4 is?
8.
And it's over 10. Oh, sorry, I just almost wrote 8 over 10. Minus 1 times 5 is?
5.
And again, it's over 10.
3.
Over.
3 10.
And what's the whole number?
1.
You are rocking today.
It's easy once
You guys
get the hang
know
of it.
the Seattle Seahawks, like they have Russell Wilson on their team?
Yeah.
There's a saying, let Russ cook. We're just gonna let him cook right now.
I didn't even get a chance to write anything down on that.
For this one?
Yeah, because he went so fast.
Okay, you got the next 15 seconds to write. Start looking over the mid-bottom page of 146. Your book's not even open.
Whoa. It's easy once you get the hang of it. It's really easy.
Okay, I need a reader for bottom 146 while he's finishing copying then. Yeah.
A bottle contains 3 1/3 quarters of juice. Margaret uses 1 3/8 quarts of juice to make fruit punch. How much juice is left in the bottle?
Okay, so what do we do with the 3 1/3 and 1 3/8? Yeah.
Maybe 3 minus 1 would equal 2.
Yep.
And then find a common denominator. 3 and 8. 15.
Nope.
8.
Nope. 3 doesn't go into 8.
It goes into 9.
3 doesn't go into 9. 8 doesn't go into 9 though.
That's what I said.
Anyone else? You guys need some help from someone? Yeah.
16?
Does 3 go into 16?
No.
20.
20 what?
24.
Yes, 24. So here we have to multiply by.
8.
Yep.
8 over 8. And then on the other side it's 3 over 3.
Okay, 8 times 1 is
8.
3 times 3 is.
9.
What do we have to do?
Take from the whole
Yep.
number.
That becomes 1. And what do we add right here?
A 1.
We add a 1, but remember, this is a fraction, so we're not just going to say, hey, 1 and 8 over 24.
We're gonna
Not 1 over 1, because our fraction doesn't have 1 on the bottom. Nope. You gotta look at
24 over 24.
24 over 24. Whatever it is that you have on the bottom, that's what you're adding. That's what you're going to continue to add back when you steal back that extra 1. So 24 over 24 is what you add. 24 plus 8 is
32.
yeah.
The second whole number. Why do you have like a star thing with it?
This.
No, up top.
27.
Oh, so that was me crossing it out because right away he said, hey, 3 minus 1 is 2.
Oh.
So I'm canceling. I'm basically saying, hey, don't worry about these anymore. I crossed it out. Don't worry about those anymore because now the only thing that we have left is 1/3 minus 3/8. Yes, they're both in quarts. We know we got our final answer has to be have the label quarts on it. But that was just basically my way of saying, hey, we don't have to deal with the whole numbers anymore. We're leaving our whole numbers over here.
I just got that with a star because I didn't see the wall.
Nope. Yeah.
23 over 24.
Yep. 23 over 24 and what?
And 1 whole.
And
Oh, quarts.
quarts. Yep. You guys know how much a quart is?
1 gallon.
Quart is roughly is exactly 1/4 of a gallon. That's why it's called a quart. And it's 32 ounces. It's this. This is almost exactly. If it's not exactly, it's really close to 32 ounces.
What's your favorite?
My favorite what? Scottish Fold. Coincidentally, and I joke you not, this is a pure coincidence. I had no idea this was true until after Scottish Fold was my favorite cat. Taylor Swift has a Scottish Fold cat. I joke you not. It's probably just because she's got good taste. Taylor Swift, fun fact, has the exact same personality type as me.
Yeah.
There's the most well-known personality type is called Myers-Briggs, or the most well-known personality test that you can take. And it's called the Myers-Briggs test. MBTI, that's another name for it. And Taylor Swift and I have the exact same personality on it.
Cool.
So in a different life, I could have been a pop star. I could have sang Bad Blood. Or Look What You Made Me Do. I still do sing those, it's just in my car by myself. It's a good life. Alright, 3 for guided practice, 4 and 5 nines minus 3 and 5 6.
Minus
Three.
the whole numbers.
Oh,
and
sorry,
the
4 and
denominator.
I'm gonna change this up. You guys work out this one by yourself in your book. See if you guys can get it. If you get it, raise your hand. I'm just gonna have people see if they can get it by themselves.
These are easy. I'm just gonna do
Guys, first step is you gotta write the problem down. You're doing this one? Oh, you got the down and out there.
I'm gonna grab, I think because I don't have any more blank pages.
If you have questions, you get stuck, let me know. I can help you out. But I want you guys to see if you can get this one all by yourself. Question done? What's that say? 16 over 18? 10 over 18 is that simplest one? Second. You check your work on something about your club. You know,
No sense because 5 minus 5 equals 0, so it would be 0 over 8.
you have to get a combination. So see what happens.
9 and 6 both go to 18.
Okay, so you have to actually say, what am I going to multiply by? What am I going to multiply by? You guys are right. If you just did 5 by 5, but remember, the top change when the bottom changes, so does the top. You don't just multiply by 9. 6 times what is 18?
6 times 4.
No, that's 6 times
6 times 3.
Yep, so here you multiply by 3 over 3, and here, what do you multiply by?
What would equal 9?
9 times what is 18?
9 times 2.
So here is 2 over 2, and here is 3 over 3. But yeah, good catch, it would have been 0 if you had 10 times that. So this is got the 1, 10 over 18. So times 3 over 3, 5 times 3 is 10. Here you multiply by 2 over 2, 5 times 2 is 10, yeah, but here you multiply by 3 over 3. 5 times 3 is not 18. 5 times 3 is not 10. If you're not going to show your work the way I'm showing my work up there, don't expect that you're going to get the right answer. I'm seeing a lot of us cutting corners. I show my work when I'm up on the board. If your 27-year-old teacher need to show my work up on the board to teach you, you had better believe that you're going to need to show your work when you do your assignment.
Can we go back to a previous page?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what you're doing ahead.
Yeah.
This is the step that I'm seeing a lot of people
Yeah. I'm getting
miss, is that a lot of us are not showing our work for multiplying what we're multiplying by up here. 8 times 1 is 8. 3 times 3 is 9. 8 times 3, 24. 8 times 3, 24. Go back and look at what you need to do for the work. Can I help you, or do you need to go?
What I'm confused about is, see up there, when I carry the 3 right here, when I carry the 3 down to here to put down over 18. So when I carry that, or when I carry the 5.
No, we're not.
Write down the problem.
Oh, I see. Okay, 6.
Was it 3?
Over
Okay. Thanks.
Pink.
All right, first thing.
Pink.
Huh?
You do the color pink.
Pink? Only dark pink. Okay, what's the first thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We gotta subtract the whole numbers, so we get one.
Yep. One over here. Now what's next? Yes?
Find a common denominator, which is 18.
So what am I have to multiply by?
2 over 2 for the 9, and then 3 over 3 for 6. And you carry the 6 down, so that'd be 6
5
over
times
18.
3 is?
5 times 3 is 15.
Okay, now what?
You have to take them from the whole number.
Yep. So there's 0 left up here. What am I adding?
18 over 18.
Yep.
And then on the other side, you put 18 over 18.
No, you don't. So up here, we've only got 1 to borrow. Did you notice how all the other ones we only added it to the first one? It's because, think about it where we're actually taking it from. The one that we get here, that extra is coming from this number only. So, and anytime you have that the extra right here, the excess is always going to come from this first number, because the first number is always the bigger number, right? Now, it's not always in math. Sometimes you might have like negative numbers, or you might be doing some other things. But for the purposes of what we're doing right here, we're always, the first number is always bigger than the smaller number, right? So that means when you add that number, when you take that back on, basically it's always going to go back onto this first number. Another way we could be doing this is we could just say, hey, 4 and 5 nines. We know 5 9. Get that common denominator. Get 4 and 10 18ths minus 3 and 10 18ths. And 15 18ths, and we know we can't do 10 minus 15, but that's just more numbers down here. That's why I usually avoid that for you guys. But yeah, the extra number only goes on that first part. So then up here, then we have what?
10 over 18.
No, because we're adding 18 over 18. So we get what?
28.
Yep.
28 over 18. 10 over 18. No,
15 over 18, because we keep that over there. And our final answer?
13 over 18.
Yep. Alright, so we are almost there. One thing I will say, I'm going to say it right now, but I'll say it again before the assignment, but go back and I hope that you have this stuff written out like this. Go back and look at how you did the work. There's stuff in your book you can look at too. They don't do it the exact same way that I do up here, but